Welcome back to Drunk Off Tea with Brittney. And yes, today we're talking about the other Brittney. Different spelling, very different night. But somehow, our names colliding feels a little poetic for this episode, because this is one of those moments where the world thought it was watching a comeback, and instead, it was watching something quietly fall apart. When people talk about Britney Spears' breaking point, they usually jump straight to the shaved head photos or the conservatorship paperwork. But if I'm being honest, the moment that quietly changed everything for her happened before all of that. On a stage in Las Vegas, under blinding lights, with millions of people watching and absolutely no grace waiting for her on the other side. I remember watching the 2007 MTV VMAs live. Or maybe not live, maybe I saw the clip the next morning like everyone else, already framed as a joke. Britney walks out to perform Gimme More, and within seconds, the internet had decided the verdict. She looked tired. She looked disconnected. The choreography wasn't sharp, the camera angles were unforgiving. And just like that, the narrative locked in. Britney's done. At the time, that's how it felt. Like we were watching someone fall in real time. But looking back now, especially after reading her memoir, The Woman in Me, that performance doesn't look like failure. It looks like someone being pushed onto a stage when they were already unraveling, and the world choosing entertainment over empathy. Britney has since explained what no one cared to ask back then. She hadn't slept. She was dizzy. Her costume wasn't right. Her hair extensions were visibly messed up. And somehow, people acted like her not having a six-pack less than a year after giving birth to her second child was a personal offense. The scrutiny wasn't just about the performance. It was about her body, her face, her energy, her worth. And then, there's the part that still feels cruel in hindsight. She ran into Justin Timberlake backstage. She writes about it plainly, without drama. He was at the top of his game, confident, swaggered up. Everything in his world was going right. Meanwhile, she was spiraling, already anxious, already doubting herself, already feeling like she was about to walk into something bad. That emotional hit, right before going on stage, mattered more than anyone acknowledged. What people saw was a messy performance. What they didn't see was a panic attack wrapped in sequins. Britney describes watching herself on the big screens around the auditorium while she performed, like looking into a funhouse mirror. That detail stuck with me because it explains everything. She wasn't present in her body anymore. She was watching herself be judged in real time before the show even ended. And once the performance was over, the response was brutal. No pause, no concern, no, is she okay? It was mockery, headlines, jokes, think pieces, and memes before memes were even really memes yet. That VMAs performance became a cultural shorthand for losing it. It followed her everywhere. Late-night monologues, tabloids, paparazzi questions. Even years later, people would reference it as proof that she wasn't capable, wasn't stable, wasn't trustworthy. This is where things shifted, because that performance didn't just hurt her reputation. It rewrote how the public was allowed to see her. From that moment on, Britney wasn't framed as a global pop icon having a rough night. She was framed as a problem that needed managing. And when the conservatorship came not long after, the groundwork had already been laid. That VMAs night became retroactive evidence. Every shaky step, every blank stare, every imperfect move was suddenly used to justify taking control of her life. It's uncomfortable to admit, but culturally, we helped make that easier. What really breaks my heart is how young she still was, and how much she'd already carried. By 2007, Britney had been famous for over a decade. She'd been sexualized as a teenager, criticized for her relationships, dragged for becoming a mother, and expected to bounce back like nothing had ever happened. And when she didn't, the patience ran out. Even the rehearsals tell a different story. Years later, leaked rehearsal footage surfaced showing her performing Gimme More flawlessly. Sharp, focused, confident, which tells you something important. She could do it. She just wasn't okay that night. And instead of asking why, the world decided it was more fun to laugh. Around the same time, Britney was also moving through Hollywood spaces that never really fit her anymore. She later talked about her experience judging the X Factor USA and how deeply uncomfortable it made her. People expected her to thrive on camera, to be charismatic and sharp for 8 straight hours a day. But she explains that fear did something strange to her. It made her feel like she was aging backwards. That line hit me, because it explains why so many people misread her. Brittney wasn't incapable. She was anxious. She was afraid. She was performing fear while the world demanded confidence. And instead of adjusting the environment, they blamed the person. She's honest about hating that job, about how exhausting it was to be on constantly, about how she could still do a cute cameo or a short appearance, but being scrutinized nonstop, that was too much. And honestly, that makes so much sense. What also complicates the VMAs night is everything happening around it. The parties, the cameras, the resurfaced photos of her out in Las Vegas the night before. People love to use those images to explain the performance, but that's the thing. They don't explain it. They just make it easier to judge. Brittney has never denied being overwhelmed. She's never pretended she was fine. She just didn't have the language or the power to protect herself then. And here's the part that really matters, that VMA's performance didn't end her career. It changed its shape. After that night, Brittney stopped being allowed to be messy in public. Every move was watched, controlled, interpreted. The spontaneity that once made her magnetic was treated like a liability. Slowly, she became quieter, less visible, less herself. Years later, when she finally stood in court and spoke for herself, people were shocked by her clarity, her anger, her intelligence. But if you really think about it, that clarity was always there. It just hadn't been heard. Looking back, that VMAs moment wasn't about choreography or lip syncing. It was about a culture deciding that a woman struggling in public deserved punishment instead of care. It was the night Brittney became a spectacle instead of a human being. And once that happens, it's incredibly hard to come back from. And I think that's what stays with me the most about this whole moment. Not the performance itself, but how quickly the world decided what it meant, without ever stopping to ask how she was actually doing. That night followed Brittney for years, long after the music changed, long after the headlines moved on. It became shorthand for a story that was never really hers to tell at the time. And when she finally did speak, in court, in her memoir, in her own voice, it wasn't loud or dramatic. It was calm, clear, human. Looking back, the VMAs weren't the night Brittney lost control. They were the night the world did. And once you see it that way, it changes how you remember everything that came after.